Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Spotlight Hour. We are welcomed by our guest here today, Courtney Huckabee. Courtney, great to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely, our pleasure. So, go ahead, let's get started and tell everybody a bit about who you are and what you do.
Yes. I'm Courtney Huckabay. I am a mental health professional. I founded and own a private practice in Fort Worth, Texas called Terra Therapies. And I've been doing that for a little over 18 years, being a counselor. And I work with kids, I work with adolescents, I work with adults. But my big focus right now is working with trauma, with EMDR, and working with parents.
I love it. So, Courtney, what got you started in this world? What made you want to be a therapist?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that I've just kind of been a person who likes to hear other people's stories. I definitely am naturally just kind of curious about other people. I want to help others. And I realized that psychology was a way for me to kind of get to hear other people's stories, help them in different ways. And I pursued that in undergrad and found out about working with kids and children. And I got really interested in that because I just love kids. And so I got my master's degree. I got training in becoming a registered play therapist. And now I actually supervise, therapists who are, finishing with their credentialing, out of grad school, and I supervise play therapists trying to get that accreditation as well. So I do a lot of supervising and training of therapists in our area.
That is awesome. I love that. So what is you own your own practice now? You started it 6 years ago, right?
2018. Yep.
2018, yeah. So how has that kind of transition for you? Because you've been in the field for, you said 18 years?
Yes, I've been counseling since 2005.
Okay, so you've been in the field since 2005. How has your role in your business kind of shifted as you've gone to more of this kind of supervisory stance?
Yeah, there's always a process in any new career that you choose, and so I was really just trying to figure out what, I was good at. I wanted to learn a whole lot, and so I started working with, different agencies and organizations. My first job out of undergrad was working with children at risk, and so I was working with a lot of juvenile probation, working with law enforcement, working with parents of those children and really found a passion for working with the whole family. I also got involved with another organization for grief and bereavement for children needing support from death loss. And so, another really important place. We're all going to experience death, unfortunately, at some time in our lives. And so, it was a really great way for me to learn a lot more about how to support children and families in that. And then, as getting, different things that I was learning about and getting trained in, and eventually I went into working with, sexualized and victimized children, and so different jobs took me different places. I worked with schools for a little while. I was a school counselor, working in the education field, and then with all of that, I was being supervised by a supervisor, and she really recommended me going into private practice, and so I did that in 2012, and, I started doing private practice, and then in 2015, I did a solo practice for myself, and then I grew into a group practice in 2018, and now we have 9 therapists, we have 5 support staff, and we have 1 location with 8 different therapy rooms, and so our hope is to help all ages across the lifespan.
First off, congratulations. It is an amazing, amazing story. It's growing so much, so it's such a good pace.
It's been a long time. I'm glad it feels like a good pace at this place that I'm at, but, it's definitely something I find my passion and a calling, so I'm really happy to be able to doing work that I really enjoy.
I'm curious, you were in solo practice for 3 years. How did you go into it wanting to grow into a group practice, or is that something that kind of occurred to you and came alive along the way?
It came along the way, and a lot of people, think, "Oh gosh, your dream come true," and I'm like, "I never really envisioned a group practice," but what I was finding is, As new practitioners were graduating, they needed a place to work. And so they knew I was a supervisor. I had the credentials to supervise. So they would reach out to me and say, "Hey, can I work in your office?" And I'm like, I was room sharing, office sharing with other therapists. So I didn't have extra space. But then I also had a lot of clients who were asking for help and support, and I'm only one person. So with the problem of people needing a place to work and having a supervisor, and the other problem of people just seeking out mental health care, I was like, "Let's see if these 2 problems can create a solution." So, I moved into a new office location, we expanded at that time in 2020. So 2018, I hired 1 therapist to share my space with me, and then we moved into a new building in 2020 and hired 5 more therapists, and, just continue to grow from there.
Wow. But what was one of the biggest challenges for you making that transition from a solo practice to a group practice? Because there's a lot of new stuff that you have to learn, and now you've got people to look out for as well.
Yes, and so being a supervisor, you understand that you are going to have to, be responsible ethically, professionally, legally for the work that these people are doing, and then really trying to make sure you're hiring good quality people. That was a really, really important thing for me. The other thing is it was me and my reputation. People were calling me and asking for counseling with me, and I'm trying to refer them to someone in my practice. And I wanted them to be someone who would represent my values. So we actually came up with a mission statement, and our mission statement is pretty simple. And it's promising compassionate, professional, and ethical care for all people who come in our doors. We can't help people if they don't feel trust and safe with us. So that compassion is really important. The other part is we want to make sure we are professional. We have clinical support staff that are such a big part of verifying insurance, getting clients set up with the appropriate therapist, a good match for them, scheduling clients, sending out paperwork, making sure that we're in touch with them pretty regularly. And then the ethical part is making sure our work is of best practices. If it's a 2-year-old, if it's a 12-year-old, if it's a 52-year-old. And so there's a lot of training that I do with my therapist. I provide continuing education just to make sure that we're all on the same page and doing our best practices.
One thing that you mentioned, it seems that you've got really well put together is you've got 5 people on your support staff, and from everything you just said right there, it sounds like you've got a lot of really smart processes, and systems in place to navigate, everything from someone first hearing about you to being able to follow through and experience the fullness of your mission statement while they work with you or somebody on your team. How did you learn to what those processes were to put together? Did you have a supervisor or mentor that guided you and kind of showed you this is the best way to do that? Or was this stuff that you were just putting together using your brain to like, okay, we can make this better. We can sharpen this.
I wish I could take credit for all this. Like it's all my idea. It's really not, and honestly, I love that you mentioned, do you have a supervisor? I had so much training and experience with other agencies and organizations. My supervisor, I found mentors also in the same, area, counseling and mental health. So, I'm very much a collaborator, so I reached out and I'm like, "Hey, how would you handle this? How do you manage that?" And seeing systems that I found that worked for other people that we could put into practice. And systems must evolve as you evolve too. So when I was a solo practitioner, what I did does not work for 9 practitioners. What I did before for, intake and, all of those things, we had to kind of shift and grow with that. So it was a lot of trial and error, but we definitely have an amazing practice manager that is really good with, templates and flow sheets. And we have meetings, a lot of organizational meetings. We have lots of communication with our group and trying to also build a culture of like connectedness within our practice as well.
That's very impressive. I absolutely love to hear that. For the people that are maybe in the shoes that you were in 2018, 2020. who are moving out of that point where they're a solo practitioner and they say, "Okay, it's time. It's time to kind of spread my wings, go from a caterpillar to a butterfly, and take on the responsibilities and grow this business, grow this practice." What would you say are the most important systems that need to be put in place sooner rather than later?
So from going from a solo practitioner to a group practice, well, first and foremost, making sure you have a contract of what's expected of your clinical support staff if you're choosing that, of your therapist working with you, what it looks like, making sure it's really, really clear. I think if you're just like, hey, let's work together, um, heads can sometimes butt, or, you might think, I thought we were doing this and someone else thought something different. So just being really, really clear of what your business model looks like and having a contract written up, a document that, we look at, maybe we update as needed. Um, but another important part is making sure that you have mentors. That's the big thing I tell so many practitioners is this isn't something for you to have to recreate the wheel. There's so many wonderful groups and practices out there. We all might do it a little differently, but finding somebody that you admire, that you think is a good person to connect with, and asking for feedback or advice as well.
Where did you find your mentors?
Have a lot of them. I found mentors, from graduate school. So my first, mentors in private practice were my professors. They actually had, one of my professors had a private practice. My LPC supervisor, which is licensed professional counselor supervisor, she was in her own private practice. I have, another person that I met when I was working at one of my agencies who was working there part-time and had her own private practice, and we're still very much in connection and collaboration. And then again, as new practices have opened, reaching out to me, I do a lot of mentorship. We do lunches, we do trainings together, we, really encourage each other, but, I felt very, blessed and grateful for the mentorship that I've been given, so I try to pay it forward for the new practitioners coming on board.
You stole the words right out of my mouth. As soon as you were finished with that, I was gonna say, I love that you pay it forward.
Yeah,
I really do. I mean, it's one of my favorite things about almost everybody that we've gotten to speak to in this industry. Just good-hearted people that wanna help make their communities and the world a better place, and going out of your way to share what you've learned with others to help ease their journey. That's the whole reason we wanted to start this podcast, was to make another resource for all of y'all to be able to come in and learn a thing or 2 that maybe you didn't know before. Maybe it's an insight from someone over here that you never would have gotten to meet.
definitely, definitely, and I will say I'm a big believer in what you put out into the world, you receive, and so being a person of, encouraging others, trying to be helpful to others, and yes, we all have needs and things, but, in this industry, hopefully everyone who's in this industry of mental health and counseling is here for the benefit of clients, and making sure that that's the priority, and I think other things come along the way.
Speaking of the clients, Courtney, I got one question for you here. So you were talking about how you brought on more people because you had too many people coming to you that wanted to work with you. And then you went from having, you and one other person in 2020 bringing on 5 new clinicians onto the team.
Yeah.
Did they come with full caseloads, or did you help them get to that point?
Every group practice is different, and we actually advertise and, market all of our therapists here. So it is come and join us. You're on our website. You're on all of our blasts that we put out to our referral sites. When people call our office, we're like, hey, these are the therapists available. So they don't come with a full caseload, but if they've been practicing somewhere else, they can bring clients here. But our goal is to fill their caseloads as well.
Tell me how you do that. What are some of the most effective ways for you guys?
Honestly, the most effective way is word of mouth. I will say I have not done any Google ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads. We don't have a big budget for marketing, but we do have a great referral resource. So we reach out to pediatricians, psychiatrists, other therapist offices, schools as well. and we just let them know we're here. Now, if we have a client who comes in, it's very common for them to say, "Oh, my neighbor, I told them about you," or, "Oh, can my other child come and see you?" And that's where that ethical, professional, and compassionate, core comes from. If we're building rapport with our clients, if we're doing best practices, if our client is coming first, I think it shows in our work and, working with our clients, and they, feel trust with us, so they share about us, which is the best part of most rewarding part of this other than seeing our clients heal and improve as well.
That's wonderful. I absolutely love to hear things like that. It makes me so happy. It's like you said, when you put good out, good comes back.
That's the hope.
Have you guys tried any marketing efforts that maybe didn't really pay off or ones that didn't perform as well as you had expected or had hoped?
Yes, we have tried it. It's not saying like we don't believe in marketing or advertising, but we've done some things where we did some things with some news channels. We've done some things with some athletics departments with schools nearby. Again, we spent some money and we saw how it would pan out, and it didn't quite pan out how we wanted. So we just shifted. So again, it's trial and error sometimes, but what we've really found is that focus on the client, do good work, and it'll come back to you.
For the people who are just graduating, getting into the field, or maybe they're leaving an agency and going for their own private practice and starting things up. Maybe they don't have a giant caseload to bring with them. What advice would you give them to help them get to that point of a full caseload?
Yeah. I would say start small. So what I did is I was, working at a school. I was a school counselor, and then on weekends and some evenings, I would see some clients at private practice, and let that grow. But really network, show your face, go to events, go to school fairs, go to places where, community gets together. Just share who you are. And I think sometimes, you send out, an email blast or you put up a social media page or whatever, but until they really get to see who you are and know who you are, it's that building trust in that can be really beneficial.
So you mentioned an email blast. Do you guys have an email newsletter?
We do not. We do not,
Mm.
no.
How do you guys use your email? Because email marketing is something that's obviously incredibly effective, but it's not something that
It
a lot of people in this industry take advantage of.
Yeah, in this industry, we're a little different. I think with the millennials coming up and coming through, they're definitely using technology a lot better. Generation Z millennials. I am a millennial, quote unquote, but I feel a little older than that. So, um, I will say we use our emails strictly, and we have encrypted emails. So we use our emails strictly for client communication, or for communication with referral resources, business use. That's how we use ours.
Okay. Well, Courtney, I wanna switch gears here because I've got another question for you that it's something that we don't really get to ask all that often because there's been some other projects that you've been working on recently. You're now an author as well.
Yes.
So before we go too crazy and go down that, because that's something I really wanna talk about, I wanted to ask, what was it like balancing the workload of taking on such a big project, like being an author, writing a book, while still looking out for 8 other people in your business and also managing your own caseload at the same time? That's a lot of things to have going on at once.
Yes, and to also try to have a life outside of the office, right? So, I also have a 3-year-old and a husband at home. So, the book writing, I will say it doesn't happen overnight. We actually spent 3 years working on this project. So, the my co-author is also a mom as well, and we're not in the same city. We're actually in 2 separate cities in Texas. So, it really was prioritizing. So, my work is super important. I kind of compartmentalize work is at work. I'm only focused on work. When I go home, pick up my kid, I have family time. Now, when my little boy would go to sleep, I would hop onto the computer, I would write some stuff, I would get on a Zoom call. Um, some weekends, I mean, "Okay, this Saturday, I'm gonna go down to Austin. I'm gonna spend Saturday and Sunday doing a little retreat. We're gonna write." But I really tried my best not to let anything new take from other places. Now, you don't get to create more time in your day. So I really had to be really, really focused and really, really prioritize that time and give myself timelines to get things done.
So, how many hats do you think you had to put on throughout this whole process?
I don't even know how many hats I have because I keep juggling all the hats. Honestly, a lot of people in my life, personal and professional, they know I'm very ambitious. Am determined. I am quite assertive. So they're like, "What's next, Courtney? What's next?" I'm like, "No, we're gonna take a pause." But I could say I probably have a good like 5 to 8 hats that I'm switching through regularly.
Wow. Yeah. Being a business owner, that's already 4 hats at once. And being a mom, therapist on top of all these things, an author now too. Touching on the topics of your book, what an interesting topic. I would really love to go deeper into that and have you explain a bit more about what got you interested in the topic itself. It is, as a hoarder myself, I really related to once I heard your explanation for it. I'm like, wow, I can understand why I'm like this.
Well, and this is not for, those who are just collectors or hoarders. It's for anybody. And actually I'm a client in my book, so just know it's for anybody. But this book was actually the brainchild of my friend who's an interior designer, and we were friends just because we're friends. But she was helping her brother go through some things of his as he was, preparing for a change in his life. And there was a lot of stuff from his childhood and a lot of stuff from his dad, which is also my friend's dad. And their father passed away when they were younger. And so she was just started thinking, oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff here. What are we doing with all this stuff? When she went home, she realized she has the same kind of habits and patterns as her brother, and she's like, you should get rid of that. You should get rid of that. Then she went home and was like, whoa, I've got a lot of stuff from my childhood. So she started just asking me questions. "Hey, what is this about? Do you know much about this?" Um, and I knew a little bit, but we did a ton of research. I read lots of books. I did watch The Hoarders, on TV just to learn more about it. But the book itself, Reframe and Reclaim, it's about understanding your mindset and your relationship with your things. Why is that important to me? Why do I collect that? Why is it important to acquire that? Why can't I let that go? And this is not to because I'm a minimalist in any way. This is just understanding you and
Hey, Courtney.
understanding your relationship with your thing of things that you can do. It's
Courtney, can you hear us?
yes. Let
I
me
think we might need to turn off our videos here. You are freezing up pretty bad. Alex, is it happening on your end as well?
Of mine as well.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Courtney? We'll shut down our video and then see if that can help improve the connection here.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Can you do that as well?
Let me see if I can turn that off. There.
See,
Does
I
that
can
work?
read for you. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So if you want to take it right from the right from where you were at the top of that,
All right. So, did you get everything I said?
we did not get any of that. And after about the first word, we froze.
Or about the book itself?
Yes.
Okay, great. I will start over.
No, after the point where you said about the father passing away, what certain things, and then that's where we kind of lost you.
Okay.
At least,
Thank you for letting me know. Okay. Um, so my friend who is the interior designer, she was just asking me questions about, why is this important to me? Is there a way to understand this better? I don't like that these are my habits and patterns. And so I knew a little bit just by, knowing psychology, some learning theory, learning about family systems and how we learn from each other or habits that are ingrained earlier in life. But we did a lot of research. We read a lot of books, and also we just started coming up with our own framework for her. So we did some steps, and so we came up with this book. It's a 7-step guide to reframing your relationship with your belongings and reclaiming the functionality and design of your space. And so there's a mental health side of it of just reflecting and evaluating and understanding, do I keep this because it's something that gives me status or I feel like it's a part of my identity? Is it something that I can't let go of because it was a gift from a certain person? Is this something that I feel like it's valuable and one day it might be more valuable, so I want to use it as an investment? Or is it something that reminds me of a memory or somebody that's no longer there? So a sentimentality. So each of our chapters goes through different common justifications that people use to hold on to things. And so the idea is client led, and we do have case studies in our book. And so the client led is going through these 7 steps with the client. They get to understand the process, they get to make the decisions, and they get to kind of reframe their own mindset about how they connect with their things and what is most valuable to them. And it's really great because it's not like, trying to get people to throw things away or get rid of everything. It's just deciding what works for you in this chapter and what works for you for the function of your home and what you want this space to feel like.
From all these points you're saying, you're connecting the dots wonderfully here with the manner of mental health and, uh, so to speak, real estate, right? Kinda prioritizing your personal space, connecting yourself to it. After this whole process, obviously, you're getting together with your friend, you're meeting her consistently, you're getting her insights and information, she's getting yours. What are some lessons you both have learned throughout this whole process after you wrote everything, right?
Yeah. So one of our very last steps in this, and you might see it on some other organizing or remodeling shows, is you come through and you create this beautiful space, but then you live in it. And so the hard part of all of this is the last step, which is maintain. And you have to create a system. What are new habits? What are new beliefs about this space? Or what are new ways I'm going to interact with my things so that this space does continue to function the way that I need it to? And another thing that we found as well is that sometimes we create a space and that evolves as well as we evolve. So I may have a hobby that I love one day, and then 3 years later, it's no longer a hobby. I need to reevaluate the stuff I have or the space that I have for that. Or maybe I have a collection and now the collection has overgrown the space. So how do I display this collection differently? Or how do I reorganize this collection so it doesn't feel chaotic? It feels more of a collection that it has value.
That's amazing stuff. Relating these to, what's that show called? House Hunters, or where they go and remake those make those houses, you buy, like, an old house, you remake into something new, identify with it, and say, "This is my space."
Right.
Putting all those things together is just wonderful, and you put that into 7 different lessons that readers can look in and assess, obviously take a bunch of notes on, and then later apply in a process throughout their own life. And obviously throughout the years, you can probably you can probably get better over time. I know people usually get worse over time when they start hoarding over, various things, experiences, especially going through different life transitions. Uh, but amazing stuff. Courtney, thank you so much.
Thank
Honestly,
you.
thank you so much for your time, for the amazing insights you said about, your journey as a therapist as well as an author. Do me a favor. Let me know where people can get to know about you and your latest book.
Yes. So if you want to get to know us, we do have an Instagram, a Facebook, a LinkedIn, and a website. So reframe and reclaim. Our website is reframe-reclaim.com. You can search us up at reframe ampersand reclaim on social media. And you can find our book on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, Kindle, anywhere that you can buy books or ebooks, and we do have an audiobook coming out in the new year as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Courtney. It was an absolute pleasure having you on. Guys, until next time.